Senator Hughes the call because she had questions as well from before lunch.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, Chair. I wanted to just touch on, and I'm having quite the day, to be honest, with some lovely social media feedback and people taking the time to register a domain name suggesting that I best reflective of a female part of the anatomy, not a word we often use. So I wanted to talk about Stop It at the Start and where that campaign's at, because I would assume stopping it at the start when we talk about digital and cyberbullying, and especially when the original post was actually put up by a federal MP in the other place, which has led to a series of really quite despicable attacks. If you could maybe update us on the Stop It at the Start campaign, and in particular any elements we might be looking at in the cyberspace.
She's not talking about Andrew.
No, it's one of yours. Trust me, it's delightful.
Well, you know, certainly, Senator. One of the most important campaigns that we've run in relation to making sure that prevention has been around respectful behaviour, because as we all know, that all domestic violence, all violence actually starts with disrespectful behaviour. In fact, you know, it is quite a well-known fact that in order for violence to be able to actually even exist, you have to objectify your victim. And in doing so, you obviously are treating them with probably the highest level of disrespect you can imagine. So, you know, certainly, Senator, you know, your comments around the clearly disrespectful way that you've been treated on this online, you know, cyberbullying is particularly, you know, is a particularly egregious example of how the objectification of an individual, you know, results in the kind of violence that is being perpetrated against you at the moment. In relation to e-safety, certainly e-safety is one of the things that is very much a new and emerging type of violence against women and children, and it's something that we'll be very keen to work with in relation to the next national plan for hopefully ending violence against women and their children. But also there is obviously the broader issue of online violence, which may not necessarily be in relation to intimate partner or family or domestic violence. It's the broader issue of violence perpetrated against people. So I don't know whether Ms Hefren-Webb would like to add anything to that, but you know, it is a very serious issue and one that is emerging as an up-and-coming unacceptable form of abuse.
So thank you, Minister and Senator. So the women's safety package did include $17.9 million for additional online safety measures, and that's for additional staff for e-safety to I guess, respond to complaints about the type of thing you're talking about, undertake investigations, undertake scanning of websites, etc. As you would know, that's a very labour-intensive piece of work, so they're going to be increasing their capacity. It also included $5.18 million for an online safety awareness campaign, which is really about people being made more aware of kind of how their safety can be compromised. I don't know if Mr Hudson wanted to talk a little bit about Stop It at the Start and just where we're tracking with that. We're in the third phase, and we're very excited that the budget and allocated funding for a fourth phase, which the intent with that campaign has always been to build awareness, prompt people to take action and give them the tools and understanding to enable them to take that action.
Sandra, as Ms Hefren-Webb mentioned, the budget allocates $24.4 million over 2 years to continue the Stop the Start campaign into phase 4. We're currently delivering on stage 3 of the campaign. As I mentioned earlier, in response to another senator's question, the first phase of the campaign was launched back in April 2016, so we're kind of 5 years down the path now in terms of the overall campaign. I also mentioned earlier that the primary focus of the campaign is around trying to change behaviour. So the behavioural change element is at the heart of the campaign, and particularly targeting influences of 10 to 17-year-olds. So looking to get in early with people around respectful behaviour and identifying when behaviour is not respectful and helping people to adjust their behaviour in that regard. So as I mentioned, phase 3 is currently rolling out, and then there's additional money in the budget for phase 4 over the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of work is being done with Ms Grant as Cyber Safety Commissioner, particularly? I know I have met with her previously, and, you know, my beloved staff member that's currently screenshotting and double-checking and recording and sending them through to the AFP, and then having to report and block some of these more delightful people. You know, and that was the advice we were given by Ms Grant, but that was obviously, fortunately, through a forum she conducted for female MPs and senators, thanks to the level of discourse we received from social media users. It's the nicest way I think I can put it. But not everyone would get to have that direct contact with the Safety Commissioner. So what kind of outreach is happening to ensure that women at home, young children that find themselves targeted on these campaigns, that don't have a staff member that actually helps shield them, that they don't have access to, you know, direct access to the Safety Commissioner? What kind of reach are we making out to those people?
Senator, as Mr Hudson mentioned in relation to the Stop It at the Start campaign, which is a national campaign, and the last round of it, phase 3 of the Stop It at the Start campaign, was absolutely focused on making sure that people not only understood the precursors to the kind of violence that you're talking about, the disrespectful behaviours that lead to it, making sure that we target influencers, so whether that be teachers, whether it be parents, whether it be coaches, but people who come into contact with young people, making them understand about what their behaviours do and the impact that their behaviours have on other people. But also as part of the budget measures that sit within the office, particularly of child safety, there's some quite significant new initiatives in supporting and making sure that young people, particularly young women, who are the targets of the kind of online attacks that we have seen, are given the kind of resources to support them in the situations when they are attacked, but also making sure that we're giving the broader community the resources, the tools, the understanding and the confidence to be able to do something when they see it happen to somebody else. Because I think one of the great tragedies of the past has been that, you know, whilst people may have seen these situations, they've walked past them, they haven't called them out. And I think one of the things that we do need to be starting to have a conversation with the broader Australian public is about, it's not just about the people who are perpetrating these particular crimes or actions. It's about everybody in Australian society understanding that they've got a role, because walking past it or ignoring it isn't good enough. You know, you really do need to do something about it. But I don't know whether we've got any specific information about the e-safety measures that were contained in the Office for Child Safety package.
Not
But
on
we'll
the...
certainly get it for you.
Yeah, we can certainly provide on notice.
Yeah, and I guess I'm interested in what as well from the other side of the equation, because quite often, you know, people are targeted in these things, and there's lessons in how to deal with that and how to, you know, report and block and those sorts of steps that can be taken. But if you look at the cowards who put this stuff up, and some of them are stupid enough, quite frankly, to do it under their actual name, but most of them are cowardly and do it under a pretend name. But there's absolutely zero ramification for them. And, you know, this has been stirred, for me, over the last 12, 18 hours, has been stirred by a federal MP and a journalist. Not that I've ever heard of him before, nor his publication, but a journalist. And it's been ramped up, it's been egged on. And, you know, these are certainly two people that you would have expected as adults to perhaps have seen some of the stream of abuse coming through and thought, you know what, maybe I've inflamed this, rather than continuing to goad it and egg it on and making sure that they had the, you know, who I was and my name and everything else there, and correcting people. They might have actually stepped in and stopped it. So what are the sort of ramifications or education through this campaign to say to people, how about you don't be the perpetrator? How about you don't be the person that's putting this stuff online, because there actually could be some ramifications for you?
Yeah. Look, I think...
I mean, I realise that's probably more AG,
Yeah,
but...
look, but it does go to the point, I think, the broader conversation and why, you know, I suppose the conversation that we need to be having as we start developing both the national framework for keeping or ending violence against women and also the national framework around protecting Australia's children. Because we know there's a huge intersection between those two. And, you know, we do know, unfortunately, from the research that we've done, that 26% of children are actually used as pawns in domestic abuse as well. So I think, you know, more broadly, the conversation needs to be had around, as I said, it's not just about going to the perpetrator, it's also about making sure that the wider community understands. And in the situation that you refer to at the moment where, you know, people are egging people on, you know, I'd like to think that, you know, some, you know, of their more responsible colleagues might say to them, you know, hey, this actually is...
I'm sure the women are lining up to back me up. Yeah, let's
no,
not hold our breath for that one.
But, you know, I don't care who you are.
Order.
I'm actually...
Order.
Perspective from some of the women in the room. I don't know.
Well, I'm actually asking some questions here, but...
Oh, sorry, I thought you were
Senator,
having your
let the minister
No,
continue with her
I'm
response.
sure Lisa Wilkinson and the
Hughes.
Women for Justice
Senator
or whatever they're
Hughes,
called
through
will
the
be
chair.
lining up to support those conservative women like they do so often.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, sorry, continue.
Well, all I was saying is that, you know, I think it's incumbent on us all, I don't care, men, women, you know, that we do need to call out bad behaviour, because it will only be, I think, when people actually reflect on their own behaviour and understand how it impacts on somebody else, that we'll actually end up getting any change. Because, as you say, the anonymity of a Twitter handle with a funny name allows you to be able to go out there and say whatever you like, and I think, you know, we do need to start calling some of this behaviour out. You know, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to have a Twitter handle of anonymity. Maybe you should actually have to put your name on it.
Crazy stuff there, Minister. Personal accountability, we couldn't have that. So with regards to the fourth action plan that the government's investing in, just so that we're clear and everyone gets a really good sense of the investment and the commitment that we're making to these areas and across the whole domestic violence, respect at work, all of the campaigns that we're running, has there previously been an investment this large by any government?
Well, the $340 million that was allocated and invested into the fourth action plan was the largest ever single investment into women's safety and as it relates to domestic violence. Of course, that's now been superseded by the $1.1 billion that was invested into the women's safety measures that were contained in the 21-22 budget that we're currently analysing here today at the Senate estimates. So there has been a significant escalation over the last few years in the investments that are actually being made, and also, you know, I would also acknowledge that there have been significant investments by some states and territories into issues that relate to this as well. So it's a collective effort, but yes, this would be by far the largest investment that we have ever seen into this particular area, and, you know, very pleased that we were able to secure it.
That's great. Thank you, Chair.